Good morning, boys and girls, and welcome back to the channel. If you guys are new to the channel, I am SendIt Steve, and today we are actually working on the F450 project. Now, as you can tell, we've got a frame rail extended here, and it's actually being hung on its own weight. But before we get into that, I wanted to tell everybody that if you are going to go ahead and weld onto your truck or vehicle, car, anything, the first thing you're going to want to do is disconnect your battery. So that battery terminal actually super needs clean to begin with, but we've got it all completely disconnected on this side. Obviously, you know, diesels have two batteries. This battery here was getting weak, so I have a replacement for it on its way. So this one's going to be a new battery. And then again, on this side, obviously, we've got to get this one all cleaned up. I think I'm going to put a new terminal on this end because it's actually seen its better days. So it'll just be easier to do it now while it's apart rather than put it all back together. We're going to clean our terminals, everything back up when we get it back together, and we'll be good to go. But I wanted to give that advice. I'm sure a lot of you guys that weld know, but you definitely want to disconnect your batteries before you start welding. So I'll show you a little bit on this side here. The reason I didn't really record much on this side was because, number one, I was trying to make sure everything was, you know, level, trim, true. I wanted to make sure that this side was done, you know, where I trusted it. And again, guys, we're not going to continue, like, the whole job is not going to be welded with the Harbor Freight welder. This is basically going to be mock-up purposes for when we take it to my buddy's place and we actually use a real welder to weld this up. But as you can tell here, this frame rail is absolutely perfectly straight down through. It is absolutely true the whole way out across. I know you probably can't see because of the way the lead there is laying, but we've got it absolutely perfect, flat across. There's no gaps, no sunshine on the way through on the other side of that level, so everything is looking fantastic. And I know a bunch of you guys are going to comment, well, look how he did it, he did this, he did that. Well, it actually works, and it came out freaking fantastic. So I mean, to each his own. Everybody could use your fantastic shop. You could do this in a high-end establishment, but you don't really need to, guys. If you know what you're doing, you got a little knowledge, you got a little know-how, and you got the desire and the will to do it, you can do this also in your backyard. Now, again, on this side here, I'll probably set up a little time lapse. We have that fuel rail that we're going to use. I wasn't going to use these fuel rails, but with the coronavirus and everything going on right now, I couldn't get the fuel rail that I needed. So, I mean, these will work. They're just a little, you know, rusty, which it's just surface rust. It's not any holes or anything crazy. Also back here, this is a little, I did run it over, so, but we're going to cut way up there. We're not going to need any of this back here, so I'm not worried about the bend that you're going to see back here. So, but everything else is perfectly straight the whole way down across. I'm going to go ahead and set this side up here and kind of tack weld it. As you can tell here, like I said, we are going to plate this also, guys. So you can tell here I've got the weld pretty well ground to where it's smooth and flat across, so that when we come in with, this isn't going to be the piece, but when we come in with a plate, we can actually go ahead and plate it, and it's actually true, flat across, good to go, ready to rock, ready to roll. So we're taking all the right steps to doing all this. That's why you don't see the weld there, guys. But like I said, the rest of it is actually going to be finished out welding with a real welder. We're not going to do that. This is just tack welds to get us in place, to get our measurements, to get where our rear control arms need to be, where our air ride and everything is going to have to sit. So just bear with me here. Let me get everything where I need it to be, and I'll pick back up with you guys. All right, now if you can see, I did put a little chamfered edge on there. I kind of, you know, ran it back like that. Now the reason you do that, especially with a welder that isn't like super powerful, is so that you know, can get down deeper into the actual metal. So again, on the F450 frame here, I went ahead and beveled that edge too. So now I'll be able to go ahead and mate these two up. And this will be, you'll see me do this like 3 or 4 times. I'll end up doing a tack weld like down here. I'll do like a small little weld up here. Then I'm going to go ahead and check measurements again. And then if everything's good, I'll probably do like an inch one down through here. And then if it is good after that inch, then I'll go ahead and do everything here. But you'll see I'm going to take measurements from side to side, from front to back, up and down. I want to make sure this thing is as true as possible. Now, yes, we are only extending about 3.5 feet here, but that 3.5 feet could actually make a difference. I don't think it would make a huge difference. It's not going to track any different down the road, as this is going to be in the correct location, but I just definitely want to make sure that it's right, and I want to do it right the first time. I don't want to be doing this multiple times. So let me get this into place here, and I'm going to start my tack welding and check my measurements. Tack weld measurement, tack weld measurement. Alrighty guys, and like I was saying, that welder isn't actually a terrible welder. Yes, it is definitely penetrating. When I went into the inside, that's kind of why I rushed to weld along the inside real quick, is so that I could actually get, because it's still hot right now obviously because I just got done welding, but once I ran this bead it was actually hot, so then I came back in and ran the inside bead. So now what I'll do is I'll go ahead and grind off some of this so that it's a smooth transition, and you guys will never, honestly, you guys won't know where the F450 frame ends and the new frame begins, especially once we get it all painted up, cleaned up, and ground down to where you can't see anything. So let me keep plugging and chugging here guys, and I'm gonna try to get 2 cross beams tossed in real quick before the sun goes down. This is definitely taking a lot longer than I thought it was going to. To figure out that side over there, I probably had, I'd say 3 to 5 hours just getting that thing lined up perfectly. Once I realized how to do it on this side, as you can tell, in about 40 minutes here, I have it all welded up in place and where it needs to be. So it's not terrible. This stuff just takes time, guys. So let me get a couple cross beams measured out here, and I'll be able to use the back section here. I know kind of about how far I need to be. You can see a mark right here. I need to be about here, but for the cross beams, it's only about a 30 3/4 inch. Well, it's 30 3/4 inch in between the cross beam here and up there. So we're going to cut and put a cross beam somewhere in here. There'll be one, and then in about the middle section, there'll be a cross beam there for added structure, added support. And then on the bottom as well, once we get through here, I'm going to go ahead and cross beam it in down here on the bottom, and I might do it up top too. I'm not 100% sure yet. But wow, that is still hot. Even back here, it's definitely hot. So that welder definitely gets some penetration, gets some heat in the metal, but like you guys all know, it ain't ideal to do stuff like this, especially if you're talking about long-term stuff. So let me get the cross beams cut and measured and laid in here, and hopefully the sun's not down by then. All right, well, you can't count this as the spring placement because obviously when I jack it up, you can tell that there's going to be a lot of movement. It definitely has to go over this way just a little bit. Plus, we don't have our perches or anything for the axles yet, because this is going to answer a lot of you guys' questions. Yes, as of right now, this is going to be a floater rear end. That's right, this rear end isn't going to have any power. It's not going to drive itself. It's just going to be able to be raised and lifted on air, versus if you see as high as it is right now, where you should actually be able to go up, I would assume, another 9 inches once we get the air actually set up. So with the right size tire on the back of here, we're really going to be able to raise this thing up. That way, if we have any issues in the front, we'll be able to adjust them. Also, I wanted to say we are actually going to eventually convert to this being 6-wheel drive. This right now is all just getting it all set up. It's getting it laid out here into the, you know, locations that I need. The axle placements where I want it to be, making sure the air ride works. This is basically going to be, you know, once we go to the 6x6, the only thing it's going to be is making drive shafts and getting the rear axles that we need. And then it'll be shock placement and things like that. But for now, this is just going to be mock-up. This is going to just kind of be a floater rear. It's just going to hang out back here. Kind of, I'd say be about 6 months that it's going to be this direction here. But I will say, before we go into wintertime, this thing will be 6-wheel drive 100%. So we will get the right gear ratio. This has 488 gears, so if anybody knows or has a lead on a set of dual rears that obviously interchange with each other and drive each other, if anybody knows where there's a set of 488 gears, let me know. I will get them. I'm looking to put 488s because that's what we know is in the front in this truck. I know I said it 5 times, 488, guys. So if anybody knows where there's 2 rears, 488s that actually will drive themselves, first to the front one, then second one to the then output shaft to the rear, I will love to purchase them. But for now, just gonna be a float axle on air. We're gonna get all the bugs worked out this direction and just sort of have some fun with it this way. So let me go ahead. And again, rear is not actually in place. It's just bolted down so that I can lift it in and out of place. And as far as the front spring shackles, they're actually not bolted or welted where they need to be. So let me go ahead and get this rear mocked up here. I'm going to leave about, I'd say, 8.5 inches of frame left after this. That way we can go ahead and we'll be able to mount like a bumper on it. Whatever we need to mount, we'll have enough mounting room in the back of this thing. So we're gonna leave about 8 inches, like I said, and let me just keep plugging and chugging here. Well, I just kind of wanted to sort of end this video now. I wanted to kind of figure things out before I go ahead and make the next step, because this is going to also be whether or not I can use that bed or not. Because if I trim right at the end of the spring shackle here, I can use that bed. However, if I give it a little bit more room so I can make, you know, a drop bracket, have room to mount my hitch, and yes, I could probably do that stuff back here, but we also got to keep in mind that this thing will be on airbag. So I've got to, obviously, I've got my cross brace here, which is actually going to be for the airbags. Now, granted, it'll be not sitting this direction. It'll actually be laid over like so. But yes, this piece here, let's see if I can't, I don't know how I would get it to stay up. Stand by, let me get that up there so you guys can see it and you understand what I'm doing. Now with that actually up there in place, you should be able to get a better vision of why this is trimmed to this section here, and that is the piece that you see here. If you didn't see my Instagram, you see when I took the picture or the thumbnail, you see that section missing. So you do know that that section is actually from here to here, and that would be your distance. But this is actually going to be for where the airbags and everything are going to mount to. So we cut this to fit in between the frame rails here. This section here, that's what I'm trying to figure out now, will be the back section here to where I can make the rear bumper. Whatever I want to do, I can put lights in it, whatever, I don't know. But I want to leave this section sort of, if I trim it here and then trim that side to where it would be even, I don't know that I'd have enough distance here to do what I want to do, which is actually keep that bed. But if I, go to where I need to be, which would be here, that bed is actually going to end up being too short. So I'm trying to figure out now what I'm going to do. I thought that bed was a little bit longer than it actually is, which not a big deal. We're only talking 6 inches here. So it's not a crazy difference, but I want to obviously do this thing right, and I want to do this thing right the first time. So the last thing I have to do is I'm going to go ahead and make the rear brackets. Similar situation that I did up front there. I actually am going to have to cut them off of this truck here, seeing as how the dealer is actually closed and I can't get the part that I need. So I'm going to cut them off of here, and then I'll actually get the rear spring shackles and put back on that. Or I will actually make these so that they mount and bolt in and out, and then we'll actually be able to change these to new ones. Not really sure how we're going to do that yet, but we got to obviously figure that out once the dealership open, thanks Corona. But we're making great headway here, guys. This was obviously the hard part. This was actually getting the frame rail straight, getting it level. It definitely was time consuming. Definitely took a lot more time than what I originally intended it to do. I thought it was going to be kind of a quick, slap it on there, make sure the top is flat, make sure the side is flat, weld it and go. But obviously you see in a lot of the video, well, the entire video, I did it all by myself. So it definitely made it tough to do. But I hope you guys are starting to also envision the progress that we're making in here and what we have going with this thing. I am freaking pumped. I'm excited, and I'm so glad that you guys are also pumped about this thing now. So I did the poll on Instagram, and you guys want to see this video, so that's why I'm ending it here. But we've got a lot to come back to. We've got a lot to cover, and we're gonna have rain for 2 days, so this will be kind of some progress once I can actually, and this, like I said, the rear is floppy, so this will actually not look as crooked as it is. So if you guys do see that, it's just because the rear is just flopping around here. It's not actually where it needs to be. But this is sort of the progress that I'm going to have to leave off with. So again, if you guys like the content and you like this build, please smash that like button. Please subscribe. And I am freaking pumped, guys. We are getting closer and closer. I literally think as long as the weather holds out, we should be able to have our cab, our bed, and our air ride on this thing in the next, I'd say, week and a half, guys. I did say 2 weeks a week ago, but that's because we had bad weather and there was nothing I could really do about it. But provided the weather actually, stays the way it is right now, we'll be able to get this thing done in the next week and a half. So I'm excited. I hope you guys are too. And I will see you guys in an upcoming video.